life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Well, in a world where challenges are plentiful, it's easy for us to feel discouraged. Yet with enough guidance and support, most people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. Well, beyond your fears is everything you ever dreamed of. For the DrStem Show, we'll give the voiceless a voice and the hopeless hope. And now, here she is, DrStem.
Hello, real quick, before we get into the show, I wanted to invite you to a free 7-day manifesting challenge. Here's the thing. I believe that we all are capable and able to achieve our dreams and desires at any time, but we have to know how to be receptive, how to manifest and receive that which we are asking for. So for 7 days, I'll be sending you an audio or video for you to watch and then do the things that I say in that video. And then after 7 days, I can't wait. I'm so excited to hear what comes up for you, what you'll be able to achieve. So visit our website, www.drstemy.com and www.drstemspeaks.com. Now, let's get into the show. Hello, once again. This is my favorite time of the day, the week, when I get to meet people from around the world. Especially, I was telling my guest today that she comes on to the show because she's been a very intriguing person to me. And she says, oh, I hear that all the time. So I'm so excited that we're going to have to get to know who she is. So before I even go any further, I want to welcome Heather Rainbow to the show. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Thank you so much. I always love being at anything with you.
Thank you. Your last name is Rainbow, and then we see in your room and everything around you, it's almost indicative of a rainbow.
Yes, it's funny, there was a time in my life I didn't really like my name because of some traumas, but I've learned to realize that I took my name back. I am a rainbow, I've gone through all this stuff and I've come out the other side, like the rainbow after a storm. So I definitely I lean into my rainbow a little bit.
I see. And we're going to talk more about that rainbow because there are some intriguing things around you. So, just, a little bit of bio on Heather Rainbow. I met her on Facebook. She invited me to join her group. It's called We the Women. And the header on that group, when you go on Facebook, especially when you're watching this here, if you're not familiar with the group, please go and search the group. It's We the Women. And on the header is something that made me click and say, yes, I accept. The header of that group says, like a lotus flower, we too have the ability to rise from the mud. That really took me and let me know that the founder or the people behind this are people that rose from the mud. So because I am talking to all of you about becoming unstoppable, you, free and fearless, no other guest could have been appropriate for us to meet today. She's a survivor, she's a fighter, and she's a thriver. That's what I'm getting from the group posts and also talking to her on several of her meetings that she has invited me as a guest. So as we talk to her, we're going to hear how I came to say she is a survivor, a fighter, and a thriver. Again, Heather, I am so honored and excited that you are my guest today. So I'm going to start right there and go in the back before you tell us about yourself. The picture that is behind you, explain to us.
It really inspires me because it's to me, seeing all the chakras and the way that she's sitting, it really representation of being balanced, right? You got to align all the chakras and keep your energies balanced. But behind it was what really gets me. It's that lotus flower that you talked about. I've had therapists and doctors, a lot of people call me resilient. along with a lot of my family as well, because we've gone through a lot of stuff and we still keep seeming to come back with grace and the beauty of that lotus flower. And it represents resilience. So that is definitely my flower. It reminds me that doesn't matter the stuff that we've gone through, all that yuck that we've gone through, right? That mud, that yucky stuff. You can
Yes.
still come out and you can still bloom beautifully no matter what happens.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for explaining that. Now, talking about, because you probably have said it twice because of, trauma and upbringing, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I started out, we were I am the oldest of 10 children. There was 6 of us in the house while we were growing up, and it was a difficult time, mostly during as soon as you hit the teen years. I had well, I will say a generational curse, if we're going to use it that way. And there was a lot of history of trauma. I mean, my great grandfather abused his wife, and of course my grandmother and her sisters, and then that was passed down to my grandmother. Of course, traumatic people tend to take their trauma sometimes and they carry it on to the next generation. So she was a little abusive towards her children, and then my father, of course, kept it going with the way that he loved people, because he was raised under a very traumatic type of love. So he didn't really learn to love properly, I'm going to say. But he was very controlling. A lot of times he would use religion or our relationship with each other to manipulate us into doing things he wanted. There was also a hint of some sexual abuse during that, and I spent probably until I was in my late 20s thinking there was nothing wrong with the way I grew up, until, other people would maybe meet, let's say my dad, and see that that relationship was off. And it kind of woke me up to it, and I learned to deal with it. So about 30-ish, I really started to finally deal with the trauma of my childhood, and I was able to work through it. I did take some therapy for a while, where I was diagnosed with complex PTSD due to all the childhood trauma that we went through. And so it started with that, learning how to survive through all of that, because, I come from what they call Generation X, I guess, and
Yeah.
we didn't
Yeah.
talk about mental health things. There wasn't such a thing as complex PTSD when I was a kid. It was not even heard of. It was like,
Yeah.
bad stuff happens, just deal with it,
You're right.
And so you kind of learn on your own, even before I went to therapy, to kind of learn how to deal with those triggers and the things that, weren't quite right in your own head. And then it was a lot of health issues for me. I wasn't able to have children. I had some women problems, and I ended up with a hysterectomy in 2020 that took everything but my ovaries. And then a year later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was stage 2.5, they called it, because I had 2 lumps. One was over 2 centimeters. It was a very aggressive cancer. So I started chemo right away. And in January of last year, the chemo that they gave me, that first dose, it had a bad reaction to medications I was already on due to some immune issues.
Oh.
And I ended up in a hospital with my white blood cells count had dropped to a 0.2, which was highly dangerous, anyone who
Yes.
knows. And I lost my hair instantly, like all these things. All the effects of chemo happened instead of like gradually as the chemo built in my system, it happened basically all at once. So I also ended up with some ulcerative colitis. I tell people I pooped myself a lot. I joked that I had a tail for a while because they had to have a rectal tube. I mean, it was a mess. And I kept pictures of what my face looked like during that time, because you could see that even my family said it looked like I was death already, because my skin turned gray. My eyes were sunken. I had just blood from everything. I couldn't talk at one point. I couldn't eat. So it really was like, I feel like it was like the death and rebirth, because when I came out of the hospital, it definitely changed my life. I went from somebody who was a workaholic and kept my mental health in a good state because I worked and I made money and I was good at it. And then I couldn't work again. And it was rough. And I knew that at that point, I was like, all these traumas, all these terrible things that I've been through, they have to mean something for me just to feel like I didn't fail because I had all these horrible things that have constantly been things I've had to fight with. And I was like, I'm going to take all these things. And if it can help somebody else's story and encourage other people and let them know they're not alone, that they can talk to somebody who's not going to judge them and be there for them, especially since during the breast cancer, I was in a breast cancer group and we were all very supportive. Nobody really judged each other. Facebook and some of these social media platforms, sometimes you get all these sideline judgy people, right? They want to tell you how you're doing things right or wrong, or you shouldn't be doing this. But there was none of that in this group because we all understood how difficult that journey was of going through the breast cancer.
Yeah.
And I saw this Roe v. Wade coming and all these women were fighting. And I said, no, we cannot fight with each other. We have to lift each other up. We have to encourage each other. We have to support each other and just understand that, listen, Black, white, transgender, doesn't matter what you are. I'm going to support you because I care about you. And I've always been the kind of person I can see the best in everyone. So I was like, well, if that helps people to be more encouraged, and at least that takes that story, so all those horrible things aren't so horrible anymore, because you know what? I survived them. I came out better. And now I can take those things and I can reach people that maybe not everybody can reach. Because I've had a childhood trauma. I've had some sexual abuse in my life. I've had the breast cancer and that health issues and, wondering how much of a woman I am after losing all my girl parts,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so all these things just made
Yeah.
me say, you know what? I got to start using my voice and really trying to help people. And that's where I am today, doing the best I can to help people.
And you are doing so well, so well. I'm part of your group, as I mentioned at the beginning, and it is a group that is inspiring, it's motivating, it's empowering, it's encouraging. So, she is really practicing what she's saying. And in other words, we say, practice what you preach. Heather is practicing what she preaches, because then I've seen, you at work, doing that, inspiring and empowering, other people to be the best version of themselves. And as I say, what my motto is, be you, be free, and become unstoppable. And I think that's also, what I see in the work that you're doing, that you are, helping other people allow themselves to become themselves, to be themselves, and not to be what other people want them to be or expecting them to be.
Absolutely.
Any fears? Do you have any fears that you have struggled with, that you have overcome, that you continue to work through?
Yeah.
Life?
I would say I started out with a whole lot of fear. Fear was something I spent a long time trying to get past this feeling of being afraid all the time. When I was younger, I was very much in the Christian community, and I thought I also have some spiritual gifts, and I would say more mediumship type gifts, and as a teenager, I remember seeing a demon, and I knew instantly it was the demon of fear. And I felt like it was following me for a while. And it took years to overcome the fear and really step out and realize there's not really much to be afraid of, because the same demons, they were afraid of me. I had a woman that begged me one day to help her, because she felt that she was possessed or oppressed by one. And she kept telling me, stop praying for me. He's scared of you and he's hurting me because of it. So it really woke me up to realize that the things that I was afraid of were more afraid of me. And so I had to lean into the strengths and realize that strength and resilience can overcome fear, especially if you have a good support system and people around you who truly care.
That's really it's really a good point that you put across, of having people around you that support you, that really care, that allow you to be yourself. And those people can be family, they can be friends. And that's what I like about, platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, where you can create your own groups, of people
Yeah.
that are like-minded people that you can, resonate with, that you can support, but they support you more instead. I can't tell you how much, I get out of working with people. People think that I help them, but then I get more help from, working with them than they will ever know. So I
Yes,
become who I am because of the people that I work with. You find the same thing?
I do. Like I said, I've always seen the best in people. Not just that, like I said, I feel like I can see a person's real potential. I can see how much beauty. I love talent. I've always been attracted to talented people. And some people walk around and they have no idea how much potential they have, right? We
Wow.
walk around and they think, oh, I'm just nobody, right? But do you
Yep.
know how many women's movements were started by nobodies?
Nobody's
I
wow.
mean, nobody's.
Yes.
And I mean, I was just watching, what is it, Enola Holmes on the Facebook, and they showed the match girl strike back in the 1800s. And those were women that most people don't even know their names,
Their names. You're right.
and they stood up against all these men and they
Yes.
protested for better health conditions and better money. And I don't know how many women in our history stood up against all this. Women whose names we probably don't even know. I was just talking with the women the other day that I was speaking with, is that yes, there's a lot of women that were like they're sheer heroes, um, and they're truly did a lot for us. But
Yes.
then how many women supported them? How many just average women like me or you just
Yes.
stood up and said, you know what, I'm going to follow that woman because I need to stand. I need to make my voice heard too. Because
Yes.
it's not just about these, let's say, popular people, right? It's about all of us together. It takes each one of our skills, all of our talents to be able to really support each other. And the more you embrace people, the
Mhm.
more they embrace you back. And it does help to support and lift you up as much as you feel like you're helping and lifting them up. It comes
They
right
are
back to
lifting.
you.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
lifting you. You're right. They're lifting you. And let me just tell the audience that are watching, when she says, I can see the potential that's in you, it's literally a gift that has led her to another aspect of the work that she's now doing. Remember how she said, her death was actually rebirth. So she recently, and I don't know if you were recently certified or you recently realized that, you know what? Can literally help more people with this gift rather than
Yeah.
just keeping it to myself. Tell us a little bit about what that has led you, where you say, I really can see.
Yeah, I've always been a very spiritual person. Obviously,
Yeah.
like I said, I started in a very Christian home. I have uncles and all kinds of people, missionaries and pastors in my family, and
Mhm.
I've always been gifted that way. And when I started this whole new journey of my life, I realized that this mediumship gift, this ability to look deep into a person and help find that stuff, I realized I could do good with it. So I started to class actually. So I am getting certified. It's a master class for some tarot reading. And
Okay.
I've gotten to the point of being pretty good at it. I seem to feel that energy flowing through pretty well.
Yes.
And it makes me glad when I can help people, when my client that I'm reading for really resonates with what I'm saying. And then I have the chance not just to tell them what's going on around them, but I can also sit there and encourage them or coach them and help them find solutions to those problems that are right there that they can't see. And the one thing I find the most in my readings is that the things that I'm telling people, they already knew. And sometimes they just need that confirmation, that person to say, hey, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know the answers,
Yeah.
keep going. And that's what I've tried to be to people all the time, especially through my tarot or anything that I'm doing.
Oh, wow. So how can people book you or work with you to get these readings done?
Well, I'm still building my website, hopefully heatherrainbow.com soon.
Okay.
I've found that is available because no one else has my name. So it should be,
Oh, does that feel
but
good?
But for now, it's easy to find me on Facebook. I can do
Yes.
it through there very easily. Heather Rainbow, I'm pretty much the only one.
Okay.
I'm
So did
also
you
on
buy the
TikTok.
domain? Did you buy the
Uh,
domain heatherrainbow.com?
Not yet. I'm
No.
waiting. I'm waiting for some money to come through.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
Facebook for sure. I'm also on
Yes.
TikTok and I have a YouTube channel. So those three
Oh,
platforms
awesome.
for now are all up and running, and I'm
Okay.
working on more. So as I get more, we'll update everything.
Okay, okay. So for now, you can find her on Facebook, TikTok, as she said. So even if you don't remember any of this stuff here, just put Heather Rainbow on Google and all her handles will come up for the Facebook and TikTok and all the other platforms that, she has. What I'm hearing is Heather telling all of us that sometimes the things that we fear are literally our strength, our inner strength that is within us, our gifts that are within us. And as I always, remind people that there is a light that is within all of us that we are meant to shine. And that light is the one that will lead you to the very thing that you were born to do and the very gift that is only within you. So many times when we are afraid, what we are afraid of is we're afraid of something that literally will even make us happy, but will be a gift to not only you, it will be a gift to everybody else around the world who will, work with you or just encounter your presence. Is that right, Heather?
Absolutely. It's so easy for people to miss their gifts. They all want to compare themselves to somebody else and somebody else's gifts. Your gifts are not like anybody else's, even if it's, let's say, something that everybody can do, like maybe it's a basketball player. Okay, a lot of people can play basketball, but nobody can play it like you.
Yeah.
Nobody has those special talents and skills like you do. Everyone's so individual, and we all need to just let your light shine for sure. Let people
Yes.
see that awesomeness that's inside of you.
Awesome. Yes. And as we're talking about awesomeness within you and allowing your light to shine, I mentioned that Heather does have a group for women, which is called We the Women. So if you are a woman that has gone through something, is dealing with something, has, wants to be encouraged yourself and inspired, or you have a story that you want to inspire another woman, please get in touch with her because she's always putting together all these lives that she encourages, the women in a group so that, they can have somebody else coming in and inspire them, uplifting them. We can never have enough encouragement. So I want to invite all of you that will be watching this to please get in touch with her. You do not even have to have any skills of coming up on live video or anything because she's such a warm person, to be on it. So, I want to encourage all of you to share your gift, share your story, and share your strength and resilience. How did you get over? How are you dealing with it? Because many, many, many of us have been able to bounce back one way or another. And that's what she's trying to help all the women to share with each other, but to empower and inspire, each other.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to, also talk to you about, Heather, what do you think are maybe the top reasons why many women, shy away from becoming who they are created to be or to be happier in their lives?
Uh, well, I think it comes down to like what you said with fear. Um, as I've started my group, I like you said, I love to showcase your average woman even, and show that even your average woman has a lot to be proud of, a lot to be thankful for, and show that they are strong and resilient. Because I believe women are some of the strongest. I mean, the life-giving ability, the things that a woman can handle and keep going is amazing. And so a lot of times we're like, oh, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like me, when I said with, the childhood trauma, to me, it wasn't even trauma for many years of my life. I was just like, hey, it's just something I went through, and so many of us kind of downplay our own strength, right? Because we're so, hey, I've been down, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I don't have a million followers, all these things. And they feel like they're nobody because of it. But all you really have to do is say, you know what? Forget the fear, forget the fact that I'm afraid of judgment or whatever else people might say. I'm going to tell my story. And when you start telling your story and speaking out, and others start to relate to you, and they start to go, hey, that was amazing, it was inspirational, people will start to understand that their gifts, their things that they've been through, those things that they stood strong through, does make them a unique person, somebody to look up to, somebody worth like everybody noticing, you know? So instead of being afraid of what someone's going to say because, hey, maybe you made some mistakes along the way. I mean, I was an exotic dancer. I'm proud of it because it taught me a lesson. I ain't ashamed of anything I did, no
Yes.
matter what it was, because it taught me a lesson. It was how I dealt with some of the pain. And nobody should be ashamed of the things that they did to deal with the pain or the horrible things that they've been through. It's
Yes.
okay because somebody else is probably struggling with the same thing. They might be, you know I abused alcohol for far too long. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I definitely was abusing it because it was how I was coping. And so I don't feel bad. I don't judge the alcoholic because I understand that there's probably a deeper issue inside, or the drug addict. I'm friends with all of them because those issues are usually heart issues, right? Those are something deep inside that's more than just, hey, they're an addict.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
probably because they were hurt and they're trying their hardest to deal with it in the best way they know how. And so when you get past your own self and realize that even if you were an addict, you can come out and tell people, hey, I dealt with this addiction. I know why I was there, but I've come out the other side of it. You don't need to be ashamed of that addiction no more. You did it because it hurt, but yet you realized you're hurt. You healed from that hurt. And now you have a story to tell that can inspire those who are still struggling behind you, right?
Yes.
We're all at different levels in life. Some of us are struggling, some of us are successful, some of us are all the different places in between.
Yeah.
But no matter what, there's always somebody that you can help behind you, right? It's
That's
like
true.
when you climbing up a mountain, instead of just getting to the top, turn around and see who's behind you. Give them a hand over that rock. Show them that it's not such a thing to be scared of. Hey, I did
Yeah.
that already. You
Yes.
can do it too. Keep
Yes.
going, you know?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that fear is what we need to overcome, realizing that sure, some people are going to judge you, but that's on them, not on you.
On
It
you.
doesn't make you worse of a person. That is
Yes.
somebody somewhere is probably
Yes.
going to want to hear your story.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. What was that thing, that incident that made it, you know what, enough is enough for you? You talk about having been abusing alcohol. What was that thing that made you say, you know what, enough is enough? Because then this is now in the past that you did that. You say.
Right. Yeah. It was I started to kind of see myself for that party girl stage that I went through, you know, and I thought, you know, I'm just having fun. I haven't had the chance to really do this whole party girl thing. So I'm going to try now that I have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was all fun and games until I started waking up and realizing I was blacking out because I would drink too much. And I would do stupid things when I'm blacking out. And after like the third or fourth time, and I realized that I was getting myself in trouble doing this, I realized I'm better than this, you know. I'm better than this. I don't need to be this kind of person to enjoy my life or to have fun. There's so much more. Not that I won't have a little drink now and then. I love me some tequila, but there's a difference between the drinking and the taking it too far. I can have fun without being completely smashed, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's about learning that I don't need to be that kind of person. I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be the best version of myself.
Of myself.
And that wasn't it.
You're right. You're right. Well, thank you. Thank you again for sharing that. And the reason why I asked this question is because just in case there's a woman out there, my sister said, you know, I have 5 sisters, and one of my sister's husband, actually, Nikki's husband, said, we all have a vice. We all have something that we do to an excess, right? And whether that is good or bad for us, it's an individual journey that we have to take.
Yeah.
So I asked her, what was that enough is enough point in your life that she decided that, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be blacking out. I don't want to be making these other decisions that I know that I'm not making whilst I'm sober and alert. So all of you, what I want to remind you is be gentle with yourself as you go through the transitions or the transformations in your life. Because sometimes you watch a show like this here, and then, here we are saying, you know what? We have this saying that if I did it, you can do it too. If I went through it, you can go through it too. But what we're saying is it's a journey that is an individual journey that starts with a decision to make a change, with a decision to change and transform. And then once you do that, once you get over that hump, because that's the largest hump, the biggest hump that you can go
Yes.
through. But once you say yes and you go on to the next phase now of staying sober and getting the treatment, there are supports that are there, and you'll be amazed at what your life is like behind your fears. And this show, as you listen to it, it starts off with beyond your fears. There's greatness beyond your fears.
Yes, there really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost beautiful when you take that first choice, and it's the same way I've talked to people about trauma and going to therapy a lot. I struggled with therapy myself for probably 33, almost, I think I started therapy at almost 40 by the time I actually decided to take it. And it was because I kept thinking that I didn't need it or that they couldn't help me. And it wasn't until I said, you know what? I need to understand my trauma. I need to be able to talk to a therapist. And the second I chose to actually want to go to therapy instead of just going to prove people that I'm fine,
Yes.
I went because I chose it. That's when it actually made a difference in my life, So
Wow.
when you make that choice, it makes a huge difference, because going to therapy, I could have gone my whole life and it wouldn't have made a difference until I wanted it to make a difference.
Yes, yes. And you know what, Heather, thank you for sharing that. Because I am a licensed, therapist, and I've been, providing therapy services for 25 years now. And now I'm transitioning into doing group coaching and group sessions, where now I call it women self-care success, groups. And we are going to be having retreats, with that as well, because there's power in we. What I had a great time working with individuals for 25 years. And what happened was I could see the transformation that happened with people like what you did, that came in and they said, yes, I'm ready to change my story. I'm ready to change my life, right? And
Absolutely.
those people were successful, and you could tell that they're changing, not because we are good therapists. We are never, as good as you allow us to be. But when you come in open and continuing to work on what, struggles come along, because that's what we do, we support you. I realize that if I start now doing more education and more support in groups where people can understand the challenges that we as women face, and also the steps that they can take for their own, healing and also freedom. Because I believe that as women, once we are healed and once we get into that, realm of, I'm now ready, we can be healthy, we can be wealthy, and boy, can we be happy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I love that you use the word education, because the one thing I have learned since I went into therapy is that sometimes what all a person really needs is to be educated. Like, I needed to understand that the trauma I had faced as a kid, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't something broken inside of me. It was something I went through. And when I understood that, hey, this is called complex PTSD, I have triggers. That's why I do the things that I do. That's why my relationships are struggling, because I can't get past this thing in my head. When I got the education and the knowledge that, hey, I'm not broken. I have PTSD. I have issues I need to work through. I have to work on my triggers. It was like a light goes off. I'm not broken. I just needed to understand what was happening in my head. So education, I say, is the most
Yes.
important, especially like, I had one of the ladies in my group, her daughter is a transgender girl, and they were being picked on terribly in school. And instead of reacting and trying to fight this person, she sat down and she explained and educated her on transgender and exactly what it was. And that is what we need, people, and especially the next generation of people, to be able to educate each other instead of always constantly wanting to fight over stuff. Because sometimes they're fighting because they just don't know.
Yes, 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 yes. You're right. Thank you for that. As you can see, I could talk to Heather for a very long time, but our show's time is very limited. And you know what? I love the enlightenment. I love the openness that you've been, with us here. And I also want to make sure that I remind all of you that are watching, especially the women, that there is a group for you that you can join, that you will be supported, that you will be inspired and encouraged. And what I like about it is, she said at the beginning, listen, I don't look at color, I don't look at background, I don't care. But as a woman, I know that what I struggled with, you as a woman will struggle with it as well, and might not know what to do or how you can get over the hump. I bring, professionals, I bring regular people, and I bring anybody who's got anybody to share. So you don't have to be, a doctor or, a counselor or anything. Just be a woman that has gone through things, that is going through things in life, and also wants to be among other women that will be supportive, just, for you to be you. Join with the women. Yeah, with the women on Facebook. Anything as we close that you would like to close this beautiful conversation, Heather?
The only thing I have to say, I would say, is that as part of the group, I am looking for people to speak, and like I said, just telling your story, it'll help somebody else, but it also helps you because it gives you the power back. So all those traumas don't seem so bad anymore, because once you start talking about them, you realize that, hey, I have control of that situation now. I can talk about it, I can use my story, and it's not quite as bad once I'm able to take those things and use them for something better.
Yes, yes. In Heather's words, she said her death was actually rebirth. Whatever it is that you're going through right now, your difficulties could be a new version of you coming out of it. And with enough support and also alignment with people that are alike, you will find that that transformation or transition might get easier as you have supportive women around you. And Heather Rainbow has started a group that she has on Facebook that you'll be able to join, the group. And as you introduce yourself, you can say, I saw the interview on the DrStem show. That's why I'm joining this group. So until next time, as I always say, be encouraged.